If your company has been running Apache ActiveMQ or RabbitMQ on premises for years and someone just told you to move it all to the AWS cloud without rewriting a single line of code, without changing a single API call, or without breaking a single integration that's been running in production for a decade, then this module is going to show you exactly how AWS makes that possible. In this module, we are diving deep into Amazon MQ, AWS's fully managed message broker service that supports industry standard protocol like AMQP, MQTT, and STOMP. And by end of this module, you will understand exactly why Amazon MQ exists. Hello everyone. Welcome to CloudExpert Solutions, your favorite YouTube channel for free, structured, exam-ready cloud education. Before we dive in, let's review exactly what we are covering today and more importantly, where it shows up on your exam. We will start with what Amazon MQ is and why it exists, the critical decision guide between Amazon MQ and SQS and SNS, which is the core exam test domain, the high availability architecture. Then we'll log into AWS Management Console and we will review Amazon MQ configurations. We will close with a full exam style question so you can test yourself before moving on. What makes this bootcamp different is that every topic is mapped directly to a certification exam domain. So you are not just learning Amazon MQ, you are learning it precisely the way AWS will test you. Every topic, every domain, no guesswork. Let's get into it. Let's start with what Amazon MQ actually is. Picture this scenario. A financial service company has been running its trading platform on Amazon ActiveMQ on premises for 10 years. Their applications are written in Java and use the JMS API over AMQP, hundreds of thousands of lines of code, multiple teams, a decade of industrial knowledge baked into how these apps communicate. Now they want to move to AWS. And here is the problem. SQS and SNS are great services. However, they provide AWS specific APIs. Your application is using hundreds or thousands lines of code connecting to the legacy broker API. The code base or the application has been built to speak with MQTT or speak with JMS or speak with STOMP or OpenWire protocol. And if this company wants to use SQS, they have to rewrite every single applications that sends or receive messages. That's a multi-year, multi-million dollar rewrite with enormous risk. Most enterprise companies simply won't do this. Amazon MQ is the answer for this problem. It's a fully managed broker service that runs real Apache ActiveMQ or RabbitMQ software on AWS infrastructure. Your application connects to Amazon MQ using the exact same protocol and APIs that you are using in your on-premises applications, that is AMQP, MQTT, STOMP, OpenWire or WebSocket. Everything is supported. You lift your on-premises broker to the AWS cloud with zero application code changes. Now let's go through some key properties. You choose between Apache ActiveMQ and RabbitMQ as your broker engine, whatever matches your existing on-premises setup. 5 protocols are supported: AMQP, MQTT, OpenWire, STOMP and WebSocket. If your application uses any one of these, they will connect to Amazon MQ without modifications. Amazon MQ deploys inside your VPC. Your broker gets a private IP address. Your applications connect privately, not over the internet. And you can use either a single instance broker or a cluster deployment. Messages persist to durable storage using Amazon EFS for ActiveMQ. And you have option to choose between EBS or EFS for RabbitMQ. AWS handles all the operational tasks like patching the broker software, maintaining the underlying infrastructure, and handling failover events. Here is the visual that makes the details crystal clear. In your on-premises, application A uses AMQP to talk to ActiveMQ, and application B uses STOMP to consume from it. When you migrate to Amazon MQ, same AMQP, same application B, same STOMP. The broker just run on AWS infrastructure now instead of your data center hardware. And here is a critical limitation that exam sometimes test you. Amazon MQ does not scale automatically like Amazon SQS. SQS handles virtually unlimited throughput by design. Amazon MQ has a fixed broker size. If you outgrow it, you have to scale it manually or provision a larger instance. This is one of the reasons Amazon MQ is not the right choice for new cloud native applications. Now the most important slide in this module, the decision guide, because this is exactly what the exam test. It never asks what is Amazon MQ directly. It gives you a scenario and asks you to choose the right messaging service. Here is the one rule that covers 90% of your exam questions involving Amazon MQ. If the applications were already using a message broker with standard protocols like MQTT, then Amazon MQ is the answer. If you are building something new on AWS and you need a service as a message queue, then Amazon SQS, and you can integrate with SNS for fan-out pattern. And that's it. You need to memorize this single rule and you will handle most of the exam scenarios correctly without even needing to complete this entire table. But recently, AWS started adding more complex scenarios where the remaining section of the table is useful. Starting with protocol, Amazon MQ speaks with AMQP, MQTT, STOMP, OpenWire, and WebSocket. SQS and SNS only works with AWS SDK or HTTPS API call, no legacy protocol support. When it comes to code changes, this is the decision factor in migration scenario. With Amazon MQ, there are zero code changes. Your application keep using the same protocol and same connection string, just pointing to a new host. With SQS or SNS, you must rewrite your entire application or your entire messaging layer to use AWS APIs. SQS scales to virtually unlimited throughput automatically. It's serverless. Amazon MQ runs on a specific broker instance. When your traffic grows beyond that size, you manually provision a larger broker. Not ideal for applications with unpredictable or rapidly growing traffic. SQS and SNS are fully serverless. You don't think about infrastructure at all. Amazon MQ is a AWS managed, but it's still a broker running on an instance, more operational complexity. SQS and SNS have multi-AZ resiliency built in. You don't configure anything. Amazon MQ requires you to explicitly set up an active standby pair for high availability, which we will cover in the next slide. SQS and SNS charges per API call, perfectly aligned with actual uses. Amazon MQ charges per broker hour, whether you are using it or not, plus your storage. As a summary, when to choose each: Amazon MQ for existing JMS, AMQP, MQTT applications being migrated, SQS and SNS all new AWS development. Now active standby high availability for Amazon MQ, and let's make this quick and precise because the exam tests it in a specific way. When you configure Amazon MQ for high availability, you get a broker pair, one active broker in one availability zone handling all of your messages, and another standby broker in a second availability zone which is synchronized with the active and it's ready to step in. Here is the architecture. Your application connects to the Amazon MQ endpoint, which is a DNS name. All traffic goes to the active broker in availability zone 1A. The standby broker in availability zone 1B stays synchronized through shared EFS storage, application never talks to your standby instance, application only know one DNS endpoint for the entire cluster. Now let's walk through what actually happens when the active broker fails. The active broker become unavailable. Maybe the availability zone has an issue. Maybe the underlying hardware fails, or maybe AWS needs to perform maintenance. The standby broker detects the failure and automatically promotes itself to become the new active broker. No human intervention is required. That means when disaster strike in availability zone 1A, this will go down, and availability zone B, standby broker will automatically become active and your application will connect to the node in availability zone B. The ActiveMQ endpoint DNS automatically updates to point to the new active broker in availability zone B. Your application reconnect to the same endpoint address they have always used. They don't know the failover happened. They just reconnect and keep working. The whole failover process typically completes under 60 seconds. Your application will experience a brief connection interruption, and you should build a reconnect logic into your messaging client, which most JMS or AMQP clients already do by default. For the AWS certification, please remember this fact. ActiveMQ high availability means an active standby pair across two availability zones. The standby is passive, handling no traffic. Application reconnects automatically via the same endpoint DNS after failover. If you see ActiveMQ and high availability in the same question, the answer involves an active standby configuration. Now let's review ActiveMQ in action in the AWS Management Console. Back to my AWS Management Console. From the service search option, I am going to type MQ. The first service in the service search list, I'll click ActiveMQ. I do not have any existing ActiveMQ setup. That is why I have landed in this welcome screen. You can create your first ActiveMQ using the Get Started button, or else you can go to left hand side. Here you have brokers and configurations. You can click on the broker and you can create your first broker. You have two options. Either you can choose RabbitMQ or Apache ActiveMQ. Let's start with Apache ActiveMQ. I'll click next. Here you have the deployment mode. Either you can use a single broker. There you have single instance broker or active standby broker, or you can use a sample blueprint for a network of brokers where you can use a mesh network of a single instance or mesh network of active standby brokers. For this demo, let's choose the single instance. The moment you will choose single instance, you have two options. Either you can use durability optimized Amazon EFS, or you can use throughput optimized Amazon EBS volume. But the moment you will have active standby broker, that means you have shared storage between both the nodes in different availability zones. That is why Amazon EBS is not the option. Let's choose single instance broker. I'll click next. Here you have to provide a broker name, then the broker instance, which is an EC2 instance. Please choose the EC2 instance based on your requirement. For me, I'll go with MQT3 Micro, which will come with 2 vCPU and 1 GB of RAM. Then here you have ActiveMQ access. You have to provide your username, password, or if you want to connect with your LDAP authentication, you can do so. I don't have an LDAP. I'll use ActiveMQ username password. Tagging is optional. Let me add the username password. Now let's click next. Here is your review and create. Whatever the values you have selected, you can review and then click create broker. That's all. Now let's go back to broker. I'll create one more time. This time we are going to choose RabbitMQ. I'll click next. For RabbitMQ, you have two different deployment mode. Here you can select either single instance broker or cluster deployment. For production, you should use cluster deployment. That means you will have 3 single instance broker connected in a mesh network across multiple availability zones. Single instance broker is not recommended for production workload. This is for development or POC. Under this mode, you have one broker in one availability zone. Now let's click next. Here are the configuration details. I'll add the name as CS ActiveMQ broker, my broker engine. I'm good with the latest 4.2. Here we have the broker instance type. I'll go with the lowest one, which is MQ M7G medium, comes with 1 vCPU and 4 GB of RAM. For the authentication, here you need to provide your username and password. Your password must be minimum of 12 characters and at least 4 unique characters. You can also enable additional access methods. That is not part of this demo and not scope of AWS certification. We'll click next. And now the review screen where you can review all your selected configurations, and finally you can click create broker. The estimated deployment time is saying 20 minutes. That means once you click create broker, it can take approximately 20 minutes to configure the broker for you. I'm not going to wait for that. And AWS certification does not expect you to create any broker during the certification. Back to my PPT again, and let's review one sample exam style question. And this question is for you to try at your own pace. Please read the question and find out the correct option from the given 4 answer choices. Please provide your answer as comment to this video. You can optionally add supporting clarifications for your chosen option. We read all the comments. CloudExpert Solutions team will confirm your understanding or will support you with additional clarifications if you need to. If you are facing any challenge to identify the correct option, please review the module one more time, take necessary notes. You can pause the video here and take time to solve the question. If you are reviewing this slide, that means you have solved the question from the previous slide and posted your answer as comment. Let's close the module strong with some exam tips. We'll start with what is Amazon MQ. It's a managed Apache ActiveMQ or RabbitMQ service. The key word is managed. AWS run the broker and you just use it. The primary purpose is migrating legacy on-premises broker to AWS with zero code changes. That is the whole point of this service. It supports AMQP, MQTT, OpenWire, STOMP WebSockets. If any of these phrases appear in the exam scenario about a messaging service, then Amazon MQ is immediately the consideration. The code decision point for new application, you should use SQS and SNS. For legacy migration with existing broker code means you need to choose Amazon MQ. Remember the scaling limitation. Amazon MQ does not auto scale. If you see a scenario describing unpredictable traffic spike or massive scaling requirement, that point go away from Amazon MQ and lean towards SQS. For high availability architecture, active standby pair across 2 availability zones. Standby is passive, zero traffic. The only purpose is failover. Don't let the exam trick you into thinking standby handles read traffic like RDS read replica. It does not. Shared Amazon EFS storage for ActiveMQ means no messages are lost during failover. That wraps up this module. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more AWS exam preparation courses and cloud certification bootcamps. Got questions or feedback for us? Drop them as comment to this video. We love to hear from you. Thanks for learning with us at CloudExpert Solutions. Together we can make cloud learning accessible to everyone. You are now one step closer to crushing your exam. See you in the next module.